the information assurance and security, or introduction to computer security or digital security. The three course codes, they are actually the three of them. They are defined in the same context or same content. We are referring to a book which is actually the Security Plus CompTIA. It's an international certificate, yes, but it describes a content that somehow it is standardized. Immediately, I'm going to start with the objectives of this first unit, introduction. I would like to have so many definitions defined in the context of security, threats, solutions. We are going to see the challenges and the issues we may face whenever we are talking about setting up a security perspective, a security scenario. The need behind every single security we may tackle. Why we have to talk security? Why? There is a need behind. We have to understand that. Terminologies is a very important context for you as a security specialist, that you have to recognize terminologies. The list of terms related to the digital security. Now I started with the first thing I started saying to you is the information assurance and security, digital security, introduction to computer security, which are actually the three course codes we are having. What's the difference? Actually, through the terminologies, you'll be able to recognize the context you have to define. What are the challenges to each and every single, let's say, scenario? The need for a security towards a threat or a specific threat, and so on. So the terminologies would clarify all for us. So for a better understanding and for a good, actually, recognition of what the scenario you are in, what is it? The terminologies would be actually given an enhancement to you. Besides of all what I just presented to you, there will be actually a section in which we are going to define the responsibilities of different security agents. Means whenever we are talking, for example, of information assurance and computer security, it's not the same context for when we talk about database security or web-based security specialist, something like that. So we'll clarify that. It would be more clear for you when we talk about the responsible parties for different responsibilities within the digital environment. Yes, then actually technically we are going to describe very famous techniques that we have to go through whenever we are talking about standardized security setup. Here is a practical side, but we start with theory and with an understanding, with the recognition, with the presentation of what are the standardized techniques that we have to go behind in order to set up or settle the security we are required to do. Yes, and a small part, it's actually enough part actually for us to recognize what are the careers and the international careers that we can go for, and you as students and learners you can go for. But we are going to go through briefly to demonstrate that there is a big chance for market adoption to the ones that they are actually responsible for different security tasks that we're going to define in this section. Great. So to start with, actually, I'm gonna swap the view into another window. I believe that you are seeing this different window now. Yeah. Through this window, actually, I'm gonna show you some issues that we are facing, all of us daily, and we are a question of prohibiting such behaviors in order to avoid the issues versus such threats. So the first context I'm showing you is actually having the title phishing. It's with PH. We know it's very well. It's side Samek, but it's with PH. In this view here, actually, if you can visualize, I'm gonna just maximize the view. In this window here, I believe that you are seeing this is actually a very normal and habitual window, which is the eBay provider. It's an C2C web application. If I ask you the question, can you measure the security level in this window? Is it secure? Is it not? Does it present any threat? Actually, I can say that it is secure. It is not showing any threat. At least it is not secure. I cannot guarantee because I cannot see any hints of security measures. But at least it does not show a threat. It does not show a visible threat. Yeah. Let me pass to the next view. Yeah, another web application. It's a social media application. It's very famous, the Facebook. Also here, I can ask you the same question. Does this one represent security level? Is it secure? Does it show or present any security threat? So when I compare this window to this window here, no, here in this Facebook, here in this social media, it's clearly shown some issues. Starting with the annotation of the text down here, it's not shown. It's shown question marks, means it's not stable. It's not rendered as it has to be. It is not rendered as it has to be. So there is a problem on this page. The first note. The second note, it is clearly saying this is Facebook and it is having the design of the Facebook. Yes, this is one of the interfaces, the front end interfaces of this Facebook. Yet the URL here is not. It is not. It is not pointing to the Facebook. It is pointing to somewhere else. So clearly this is a fraud. This is not secure. It is even if it is not. It is not maybe Unreal Paint making a problem, but it is an access to a fraud. It is a vulnerable, let's say, platform or interface or API. So here, the doer, sorry, let me come back. The doer is trying to trick the users of this interface to do something actually which is not legitimate. Mainly, it is for the purpose of thieving the credentials, usernames, and passwords. Mainly like that. So the URL here, it is a good let's say, indicator that this application is not safe. Let me go on for a next security perspective view, security scenario, which actually sorry for the interruption. Sorry for the interruption. Uh, so I come back to the security fraud, which is actually another kind of vulnerability that we see daily. I'm visualizing you one image. It is clearly still an image. It's nothing but an image, and it is opened in the image viewer here. See, Windows Photo Viewer is not showing any issue. But if I ask you the question, can we open the same image in a notepad? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And see what I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see something said nominated metadata. Okay, this is actually what the computer sees. Me, you, and everybody can see this one, and we understand only this visualization, but we cannot visualize this one. We cannot, as a human being, I cannot understand what is this. This is the metadata that the computer recognizes. It recognizes the measurements, the width, the height, the color, the depth, and the number of the, let's say, the colors utilized, and so on. So the media we are seeing here, the computer is seeing it like this through the metadata. Okay, what's the problem? The problem is that we can inject inside of the metadata of this image things that we can utilize later on. See, visually from the first view, you cannot recognize what is this. But see here where I'm pointing now, where my let's say pointer is. ping 202.15.175.2. This is a ping, actually. It's a very famous command. Okay, another one. See here, DDoS space attack. It is a text. It is actually a context that we are able to understand, we as humans. Okay, so now the image that we are visualizing as an image, it holds data that we can read. So what does it mean? Actually, we can inject whatever we want, only we have to respect the rules. There are rules to inject data that we can utilize in future times into an image. So this is the injection. Actually, all of us, we open images and we share images through social media or whatever, emails or whatever. You share and you download and you open images. All of us. So we are in question, in context of such attack or such, let's say, vulnerability. Yeah, another security measure that we have to uh, take the precaution versus, which is actually another kind of injection here. All of us, we are using the ED-Wave, for example. All of us, we are using the famous Facebook, for example. Not all of us, but whatever. All of us, we are using systems or online systems that they are actually requiring us to authenticate ourselves using the very famous security scenario, the username and password. Security mechanism, username and password. Wait, what's the problem here? The problem is that this username and password fields, they are actually, in most common systems, they are actually to be common for all users. Let's take the example of the EduWave. The same interface, username and password in EduWave, we use them, me as an instructor, you as a student, the administrators, the chancellor office agents, and so on. Everybody, they are using the same username and password fields to access the EduWave services. What does it mean? It means there is an agent behind of this interface that checks this is an instructor, this is a student, this is an administrator, this is a technician, and so on. What does it mean? It means there is a query, or there is, let's say, sort of a code that checks who is it, who is the user. And then after it opens the second page. The first page is common for all. The next page, no, it will be actually classified. It's actually the access control here to control that. Means username here, password here. The controller is something like this one. It's a simple SQL query to check if the user inserted and the password inserted, they are valid or not. Based on that, there will be a next page. A simple SQL query like this one, actually, it's a vulnerable statement that we can trick somehow to open what the system is not intended to do. You as a student, you may hack this EduWave, if actually it is applying a such scenario, to open the account of, let's say, Murad or whomever. An example of a fraud that we may apply, it is nominated in this example here, is the 1 equal to 1 attack. This scenario here, we try to trick the system that uses the SQL, the structured query language, actually as a tool to authenticate users, stating that since this 1 equal to 1 is true, so validate me. And the 1 equal to 1 is usually true. It would never fail in the computer. Thus, actually, I'm just explaining the theory. So thus, since it is usually valid 1 equal to 1, so it would open the computer. It would open me the next page. It would lead me to the next interface. How it happens? It happened why? Because we are using the statement, a single quotation, a single annotation in between, surrounded the values of the username and the password. We terminate a single quotation here in the statement with a single quotation, and we write or, and we give the 1 equal to 1. We terminate the query with a semicolon, and we give the rest to be comment. So either the first or the second. Any one is true, the system will open. And since 1 equal to 1 is true, so the system will open. Whatever is the first part, since the 1 equal to 1 is true, so it would open. SQL injection here. Injecting we are injecting this is actually a SQL or equal 1 equal to 1. It's a part of the SQL statement. We can use it like that. Uh, yes. So we are just manipulating the SQL just to change the behavior of the system. We are injecting a script into the system to control the behavior of the system. Yes. Let me come back to our regular class. Good, good, good. So any questions here, please? Any appraisals here, please? Khalsa, any questions, Khalsa?
No.
Okay, great. So I'm going to give you the first definition related to the digital security. Actually, here, the first definition that we have to memorize it from now once for all, never to forget it, and never to leave it go away. So you keep it in your mind for usual. Digital security or information security or computer security, it is a context of securing what and where. It is a context of securing what and where. And the context of securing what and where, it is to protect what and to protect it where. So you are going to secure your data. What is your data? What is it? Text, numbers, files, and so on. So you have to specify that and where they are. Are they in a computer? Are they in a mobile? Are they in a flash disk? Are they in an external or internal memory, and so on? So you have to clarify those things. And the context of specifying the data nature and specifying the environment nature, this is the digital security. This is the major field of the major, I said, I use the word major, field of digital security. Briefly here, it's a very abstract definition. This is a very abstract presentation of what is the digital security. Great. The securing what and where, the first definition we saw, it is to secure, for example, a list of the exams. I send you an exam actually online, so I have to secure the exam. It is the what, where, when I send it through the email. So this is it. But the email is not a local computer, it's not a local storage environment. I use the network, I use something actually that communicates my data remotely. So I have to talk about network security. So the context of this course is not only to talk about the security related to the local computer or a local, let's say, device you have, a physical device you have in between your hands, but also, it is the concern of securing the remote environments. Here now, briefly and directly stating that network security, whether it is a local network at home, you have computers connected together, you have to secure the communication. Yes, you have to avoid that neighbors or parties from external environment use your Wi-Fi at home. So you are securing your network, your home network, and so on. So things like that. So all is concerned with digital security. Yeah. So scenarios and measurements and techniques and standard utilities and solutions for setting up security, they are numerous. Whether we are talking about physical security or we are talking about logical security, in all cases, measurements and scenarios and standards. I'm using so many words that you have to recognize, and you will recognize. We are going to use frequently. Actually, they are uh, uh, means the physical or the logical security. They are contexts of securing your matter in question, your data, your assets, your whatever. If I'm going to secure my mobile is a hardware. I have to use some framework at home or somewhat to secure the mobile, which is a hardware. If I'm going to secure my images, they are logical content. They are actually things that I cannot manage with a handy tools. I have to use the software applications or system applications or whatever responsible for providing security measures. So the measurement here of the security benefit is related to the thing in question. What does it mean? I am going to secure a table. Is it valuable to spend 1,000 riyal for security measurements to secure a table? I don't think so. But if I'm gonna, for example, secure a network that holds 10 or 15 or 20 computers, I spend 1,000 riyal. Now I can speak, I can discuss, I can say yes, I can say no, I can give arguments and so on. So the benefit of the security measurements. So it is based on the value of the set question of security. Remember that the prevention is much more better than setting up a security or let's say a recovery scenario. So to prevent, and you spend let's say money, and you spend time and energy and technical let's say activity to prevent issues from being actually from happening is much more better than recovering and let's say talking about setting up a security after a disaster happens. Wiqaya is much more better than the cure. Any questions here, please? Any questions? I believe you have no questions since you are silent. Okay. Uh, one first conclusion to all what we saw this morning now. The first conclusion to the first speech I given you now is that, so since we are talking about what to secure and where to secure, and since we are talking about that the digital security is related to securing locally and remotely, let's say assets, we are able to secure all what we have in local storage device, local storage less mechanism or whatever, and also what to be communicated over the networks. All is question of security. And since we are talking about benefit of setting up security and benefit of whatever the measurements to set as a security scenario, so and since we said that the prevention is much more here as measurement to the security features, we have to prevent is better than to setting up scenario to recover what has been destroyed or theft. Conclusion: are we able to secure a system, and that's it from a first preview, from a first scenario? Are we able to prevent fully all possible threats? Answer is no. Then no. Then no. Very clear. The question is clear and the answer is clear. We are not able to secure, and we will never be able to secure a system 100% fully. Otherwise, if we are talking about fully secure system, we are talking about an isolated system. And an isolated system is a useless system. So if it's isolated, nobody will use. Yeah, we are not using and we are not able to use, so it's useless. We'll stop. Thus, security can be very high, but not 100%. Why? Because we have to have external entries and let's say points where we can actually send and share resources. What security measures? We talk about the insiders, and we talk about let's say the access points and so on. That would actually make you understand clearly why we cannot talk about 100% secure system is not available on the commercial market. I'll take the attendance, and I'll take the